James Mitchell straightened his designer tie and smirked as he watched the woman in jeans and a simple t-shirt walk through the gleaming doors of Elite Motors. She didn't belong here, and he would make sure she knew it. "Can I help you find the exit?" he called out, loud enough for the other salespeople to hear. Emma Walker smiled politely, tucking a strand of brown hair behind her ear. "Actually, I'm interested in that silver Maserati in the window." James let out a laugh that echoed across the showroom floor. Several customers turned to watch. "That vehicle costs more than most houses," he said, looking her up and down. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at our used car lot down the street. They have vehicles more appropriate for your budget." Emma's cheeks flushed, but her voice remained steady. "I'd still like to see the Maserati, please." "Listen." James lowered his voice, leaning closer. "People like you don't belong in a place like this. You're wasting my time." Emma took a deep breath, then nodded. "I understand perfectly." As she walked out, James didn't notice the slight smile that appeared on her face. Nor did he see her pull out her phone and make a call that would change everything. "Robert," she said quietly, "we need to talk about Elite Motors. I think it's time for a change in management." Elite Motors sparkled under the morning sunlight. Glass walls showcased a fleet of exotic vehicles that most people would only dream of owning: Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley, each more expensive than the last. Emma Walker stepped through the doors, her simple ponytail bouncing slightly with each step. Her casual jeans, white t-shirt, and minimal makeup reflected a woman who valued practicality over presentation. At 38, she carried a quiet confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was. What wasn't apparent from her modest appearance was that Emma was the founder of Walker Tech Solutions, a cybersecurity firm that protected some of the biggest companies in the country. Years before meeting her husband, she had built the company from nothing, pouring her education and natural talent into creating something remarkable. As she entered the showroom, her eyes immediately fell on a sleek silver Maserati, perfect for her husband Robert's 40th birthday. He had always dreamed of owning one, and after closing a major business deal last month, Emma wanted to give him something truly special. She could easily afford it. Her company's success had made her wealthy in her own right, though few knew that. Across the showroom, James Mitchell adjusted his Italian silk tie and straightened his tailored suit jacket. As sales manager, he prided himself on being able to spot serious buyers instantly. At the sight of Emma in her casual clothes, he smirked and nodded to his colleagues. This would be amusing. "Good morning." Emma smiled at a young salesperson named Alex who approached her. "Welcome to Elite Motors. I'm Alex. Is there something specific you're interested in today?" Before Emma could respond, James smoothly intercepted. "I'll handle this, Alex," he said, then turned to Emma with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Looking for directions, ma'am?" And just like that, Emma's day at the dealership began. A day that would change perspectives for everyone involved. "Actually," Emma replied pleasantly, "I'm interested in that silver Maserati." She pointed to the $195,000 vehicle displayed on the elevated platform. James's smile tightened. He'd seen this before. People wandering in to daydream about cars they could never afford. With end-of-month quotas looming and several serious buyers expected that afternoon, he had no time for fantasies. "That's the Gran Turismo Sport. Only 20 were allocated to our region this year," he said, emphasizing each word as if speaking to a child. "Perhaps I could direct you to our used car division? They're in a separate building about 2 blocks east." Emma noticed how his eyes darted over her simple clothing, lingering on her scuffed sneakers. She was accustomed to such judgments. Most people had no idea she deliberately chose this way of living, finding freedom and simplicity despite having access to immense wealth. "I'd really like to learn more about this one," she persisted politely. "Is it possible to see the interior?" James's expression soured. Behind him, 2 salespeople exchanged knowing glances. "The Gran Turismo is by appointment only," he lied smoothly. "Our serious clients typically schedule private viewings." Just then, a couple dressed in designer clothing entered. James's demeanor transformed instantly. "Please excuse me," he said to Emma without actually looking at her. "Why don't you take a brochure? Alex can help you with that." He strode toward the couple, arms outstretched in welcome. "Mr. and Mrs. Davidson, wonderful to see you again." The Walker estate sat on 3 quiet acres outside the city. Its understated elegance revealed nothing of the billions behind its ownership. Robert Walker preferred it that way. At 42, the real estate developer had transformed urban landscapes across the country, building a fortune while maintaining a deliberately low profile. When Emma entered his home office, Robert looked up from his desk, immediately setting aside his work. 15 years of marriage had taught him to read her expressions with precision. Something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked, moving around the desk to meet her. Emma sank into a leather chair, the morning's events washing over her anew. "It was educational," she said with a wry smile that didn't reach her eyes. She recounted the experience at the dealership, the condescension, the humiliation, the blatant discrimination. As she spoke, Robert's expression darkened, but he remained silent, giving her the space to process. "It's not about me," she concluded. "I have the privilege of walking away knowing the truth. But how many people get treated that way every day without the comfort of knowing they actually could afford what they're being denied?" Robert nodded thoughtfully. In their years together, this was what had always moved him most about Emma, her consistent concern for others, even when she herself had been wronged. "So what would you like to do about it?" he asked finally. "Part of me wants to do nothing," she admitted. "Just buy your birthday gift elsewhere. But then I think about that young salesperson, Alex, who treated me with respect regardless of how I was dressed. And I think about all the people who face that kind of judgment without having any recourse." She looked directly at Robert. "These people need to understand that worth isn't determined by appearance. But I don't want vengeance. I want awareness." Robert nodded slowly, a plan forming. "I think I might have an idea that accomplishes both." "Nothing too dramatic," Emma warned, knowing her husband's protective instincts. "No buying the dealership and firing everyone." Robert laughed. "Nothing so cliché." Then he paused, his expression turning thoughtful. Although, Emma raised an eyebrow. "Robert, what if we did?" he asked, leaning forward. "Not for revenge, but for transformation? You can't be serious." "Consider it," Robert said, warming to the idea. "Elite Motors has been struggling financially for years. Victor Hayes runs it like a private club rather than a business. I've heard rumors he's looking for buyers. And you just happen to know this because—" Robert shrugged. "Commercial real estate is my world. I hear things." Emma considered this. Even if it were for sale, buying a car dealership seems extreme. "Not if we see it as an investment in change," Robert countered. "We wouldn't fire everyone. Instead, we'd implement a new culture, one where people are treated with respect regardless of appearance." As the idea took shape between them, Emma found herself considering the possibilities. Not vengeance, but a chance to create lasting change. "Let me make some calls," Robert said, already reaching for his phone. "No commitments yet. Just exploring options." Emma nodded, knowing that once her husband set his mind on something, particularly something related to business, things tended to move quickly. By evening, Robert had confirmed his suspicions. Elite Motors was indeed discreetly on the market. Victor Hayes, looking for a quiet exit before financial troubles, became public knowledge. "It's perfect timing," Robert told Emma over dinner. "We could complete the acquisition through one of my holding companies within a week. Hayes wouldn't even know who the real buyer is until the papers are signed." "And James Mitchell?" Emma asked. Robert smiled. "Let's just say I'm planning a very educational experience for Mr. Mitchell, one he won't soon forget." 1 week passed with remarkable speed. Robert's team worked discreetly, and by Friday afternoon, the acquisition was complete. Elite Motors now belonged to Walker Holdings, a fact known only to a handful of executives and lawyers. Victor Hayes had accepted the generous offer with visible relief, eager to escape his mounting debts. The deal included one unusual condition. The announcement of new ownership would be delayed until Monday morning, giving Robert and Emma time to implement their plan. "Are you nervous?" Robert asked Emma as they prepared for their visit to the dealership. Emma smoothed her deliberately casual outfit, jeans and a simple blouse, and smiled. "Not nervous. Ready. Remember, I go in first. You make your entrance when I text you. At precisely 10:15 Monday morning, Robert Walker pulled into the Elite Motors parking lot driving an understated black Mercedes. It was expensive but not flashy, the kind of car that suggested success without screaming wealth. Inside the showroom, James Mitchell spotted the potential customer immediately. The man's clothes were well-tailored but conservative, his watch expensive but not ostentatious. This was exactly the type of client James preferred, wealthy enough to afford luxury, but not flamboyant about it. "Good morning, sir," James called out, intercepting the visitor before any other salesperson could approach. "James Mitchell, sales manager. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today." The man regarded James with an unreadable expression, then offered a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Robert Walker," he replied simply, offering a firm handshake. James's professional instincts kicked into overdrive. "Mr. Walker, welcome to Elite Motors. What brings you in today? Perhaps I could show you our newest arrivals? We just received a limited edition Bentley that might interest you." "Actually," Robert replied calmly, "I'm here to see Victor Hayes. Is he available?" James hesitated. Owner meetings were typically arranged in advance. "Mr. Hayes is in his office. May I ask what this is regarding?" "Business matters," Robert answered, his tone making it clear he wouldn't elaborate. James nodded quickly. "Of course, sir. Right this way." He led Robert through the showroom toward the management offices, secretly texting Hayes about the unexpected visitor. When they reached the owner's office, Victor Hayes was already standing, ready to greet them. "Mr. Walker," Hayes said with a nervous smile. "What a surprise. I thought all our business was concluded." Robert smiled. "Not quite. I thought it would be appropriate to introduce myself properly, as the new owner of Elite Motors." James Mitchell froze, his expression shifting from professional courtesy to confusion. "New owner," he repeated. Hayes cleared his throat. "Yes, well, I was planning to announce this to the staff later today. Mr. Walker's company has acquired Elite Motors, effective immediately." "I'd like to speak with your team," Robert said. "Could you gather everyone in the showroom in about 10 minutes? As Hayes hastily agreed, Robert casually turned to James. "Mr. Mitchell, you've been very helpful. I look forward to learning more about your sales approach." 10 minutes later, the entire dealership staff had assembled in the showroom. Whispers circulated about the mysterious new owner and what changes might come. Alex, the young salesperson, stood quietly at the back, watching the proceedings with interest. Robert stood beside Hayes, addressing the assembled employees with calm authority. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Robert Walker, and as of today, I'm the new owner of Elite Motors." Just as he was about to continue, the main doors opened. Emma Walker walked in, wearing the same casual outfit she'd worn the previous week. James Mitchell's face drained of color as recognition dawned. Robert smiled warmly. "And this is my wife, Emma Walker, who will be taking an active role in reshaping the culture of this dealership." Emma joined Robert at the front, her gaze sweeping across the faces before her, lingering briefly on James's shocked expression. "Some of you may remember me from last week," she said calmly. "I came in looking to purchase a Maserati as a birthday gift for my husband." The tension in the room was palpable. Several staff members glanced nervously at James, who seemed to be struggling to maintain his composure. "What you may not know," Emma continued, "is that I was treated in a way that no customer should ever experience." James Mitchell stood frozen, his perfect world crumbling around him. The woman he had dismissed so easily was now standing before him as the wife of his new boss. His throat went dry as he tried to form words. "Mrs. Walker, there must be some misunderstanding," he finally managed. "There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Mitchell," Emma replied evenly. "You told me, and I quote, 'People like you don't belong in a place like this.'" A murmur rippled through the gathered employees. Alex, the young salesperson, stepped forward. "It's true," he said. "Mrs. Walker was treated poorly. She was polite about her interest in the Maserati, but she was dismissed repeatedly based on her appearance." Robert's expression remained calm, but his eyes had hardened. "You know what's interesting about my wife?" he asked, addressing the room. Before I met her, Emma had already built Walker Tech Solutions from nothing. Her company now protects data for half the Fortune 500. He paused, letting this sink in. Emma chooses to dress simply because she believes in living modestly despite our means. She finds it keeps her connected to the people her technologies protect. It's one of the countless reasons I love her. Victor Hayes, sensing the tension, stepped forward. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, I assure you this incident doesn't reflect the values of Elite Motors. Actions speak louder than mission statements, Mr. Hayes. Robert interrupted firmly. And this isn't an isolated incident, is it? His gaze swept across the room, noting the uncomfortable expressions on several faces. How many potential customers have been judged, dismissed, or ignored based solely on their appearance? How much business has been lost because of prejudice disguised as qualifying customers? James Mitchell looked physically ill. His carefully constructed world of luxury and exclusivity was unraveling before his eyes. So what happens now? Someone asked from the back of the room. Robert exchanged a glance with Emma before answering. Now we change things. The silence in the showroom was absolute as everyone waited for the inevitable announcement of terminations. Contrary to what you might expect, Emma said, we didn't buy this dealership to fire everyone. We bought it to transform it. Relief visibly washed over many faces, though James remained tense. Starting today, Robert continued, Elite Motors will operate under a new philosophy: respect for all, regardless of appearance. Every person who walks through those doors deserves to be treated with dignity and professionalism. He turned directly to face James. Mr. Mitchell, your sales record is impressive. Your people skills, however, need significant improvement. James swallowed hard. Sir, you have a choice, Robert interrupted. You can either embrace our new approach and learn from this experience, or you can find employment elsewhere. The decision is yours. The ultimatum hung in the air. James Mitchell, who had spent years judging others, now found himself being judged, not on his appearance or status, but on the content of his character. I would like to stay, he said finally, his voice barely audible. Good, Emma nodded. Your first assignment will be to work alongside Alex here, observing how he treats every customer with equal respect. Alex looked surprised but pleased at the mention of his name. Additionally, Robert added, we'll be implementing a comprehensive training program on unconscious bias for the entire staff. This isn't about punishment, it's about growth. As the meeting concluded, employees dispersed in small groups, discussing the unexpected turn of events. James Mitchell remained behind, his usual confidence shattered. Mrs. Walker, he began hesitantly, I owe you an apology. My behavior was inexcusable. Emma studied him for a moment. You're right, it was inexcusable. But that doesn't mean it's unforgivable. The question is, what will you learn from this? 3 months passed quickly at the newly renamed Walker Motors. The showroom still gleamed with luxury vehicles, but the atmosphere had changed dramatically. Gone was the air of exclusivity and judgment, replaced by genuine welcome for all who entered. James Mitchell adjusted his tie, no longer a symbol of superiority, but simply part of his professional appearance. These months had been the most challenging and, surprisingly, the most rewarding of his career. The morning had started with a team meeting where Robert announced the quarter's results. Sales had increased by 32% since the change in management, proof that treating all customers with respect was not just the right thing to do, but good business as well. Good morning, a voice called, drawing James's attention to the entrance. A woman in faded jeans and a simple sweater walked in, looking somewhat hesitant as she glanced around at the expensive vehicles. 3 months ago, James would have immediately dismissed her. Today, he approached with a genuine smile. Welcome to Walker Motors. I'm James. How can I help you today? The woman seemed surprised by the warm greeting. I'm just looking, really. My husband got a promotion, and we thought maybe, but these are probably out of our range. Congratulations on your husband's promotion, James said sincerely. Why don't I show you some options? There's no pressure at all, and you might be surprised at what's possible. From across the showroom, Emma and Robert Walker observed the interaction. They had stopped by for a surprise visit, curious to see how their vision was unfolding. "He's changed," Emma remarked quietly. Robert nodded. "People can surprise you when given the chance." They watched as James patiently showed the woman several vehicles, explaining features without pushing, listening more than talking. When she mentioned her budget, he didn't dismiss her, but instead showed her models she could actually afford with the right financing. Later, as the woman left with information and a genuine thank you, James noticed the Walkers. He approached them, no longer intimidated but respectful. "Mrs. Walker, Mr. Walker, I didn't know you were visiting today." "Just checking in," Robert replied. "Things seem to be going well." James nodded. "Better than I ever expected, honestly." He hesitated, then added, "That woman who just left, 3 months ago, I wouldn't have given her the time of day. Today, she's considering our certified pre-owned Audi, and her brother owns a construction company that might need a fleet of trucks." Emma smiled. "You never know who people really are just by looking at them, do you?" "No," James agreed, the lesson now firmly embedded in his worldview. "You really don't." As they walked toward the exit, Emma and Robert passed Alex, now promoted to assistant sales manager. "Your idea to buy this place was pretty extreme," Emma said quietly to her husband. Robert smiled. "Sometimes meaningful change requires bold action." Outside, they passed a familiar silver Maserati in the display window, the same one Emma had inquired about 3 months earlier. "Still think you want to get me that for my birthday?" Robert asked with a grin. Emma laughed. "Actually, I was thinking of something simpler. The experience turned out to be gift enough." As they drove away, Emma reflected on how what began as a moment of humiliation had transformed into something unexpected. Not just revenge or vindication, but genuine positive change. The dealership had been revolutionized. James had grown as a person, and countless customers would now be treated with dignity regardless of their appearance. Sometimes, she thought, the most powerful response to disrespect wasn't anger or vengeance, but the opportunity for transformation. And that was worth more than any luxury car could ever be. Back at their home, Emma and Robert sat on the patio overlooking their garden, enjoying the peaceful evening. "You know," Emma said, swirling her tea thoughtfully, "I never expected things to turn out this way." Robert smiled. "When you came home that day, all upset about how you were treated, I just wanted to make it right." "By buying an entire car dealership," Emma laughed, shaking her head. "Only you would think that was a reasonable response." "It worked, didn't it?" Robert's eyes twinkled with amusement. "And it turned out to be a good investment, too." Emma nodded, her expression growing more serious. "It's not just about the business, though. James really has changed. When I saw him today, actually listening to that woman, treating her with respect, that's the real victory." "People can change when given the right motivation and opportunity," Robert agreed. "Sometimes they just need a wake-up call." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. "You know what I keep thinking about?" Emma finally said. "All the people who walk into stores, dealerships, restaurants every day and get judged by their appearance. Not everyone has a billionaire spouse who can buy the business and fix the problem." Robert reached for her hand. "True. But every time someone like James learns this lesson, it creates a ripple effect. He'll treat thousands of customers differently now, and some of them might change how they treat others too." Emma smiled. "I like that thought. Small changes adding up to something bigger." As darkness fell around them, Emma reflected on the journey, from that humiliating moment at the dealership to today. What could have been just another story of revenge had become something more meaningful, a genuine transformation. Not just for James Mitchell, but for an entire business and all the people it touched. And perhaps, she thought, that was the most valuable luxury of all. Not the cars or the wealth, but the power to create positive change in the world around you. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and join our community of story lovers. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever misjudged someone based on their appearance or been misjudged yourself? Your experiences might inspire others. And remember, the true measure of wealth has nothing to do with your bank account. It's about how you treat others when you think no one important is watching. See you in our next story, where another powerful lesson awaits.